Does automation cause unemployment, or does high employment cause automation? That's the kind of question we're going to be discussing today. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Facts on Open Automation show. Standing in line, longer waits, lost luggage. Is it also something you experience nowadays? Somehow, seemingly, fewer people are working at airports, in restaurants, on their hotlines, and like this post of Superheldin GmbH tells, workforce disappeared. So how is that influencing the electronics manufacturing market? And is there a solution by open automation? That's what we are going to discuss today. And as always, I have some very fine experts here with me. First of all, hello, Anita Hager from ASMPT Human Resource Department.
Hey, Laszlo. Nice to be here.
Hello. Hello, Rob Breen, our marketing expert for automation.
Hi, Laszlo. Good to be back.
And hello, Dieter Weiss, the top researcher from the most famous brand here, Informa.
Thank you for having me here today, Laszlo.
So Anita, Rob mentioned an evil sentence in his introductory video. Automation makes people unemployed. Is that true?
No, quite the opposite. So it's true we quit job with simply routine tasks, which can be done more efficiently by machines. But automation creates a lot of new jobs. Machines need to be developed, installed, and maintained. The usage of new techniques leads to new steps in development, which leads to new jobs.
New opportunities.
Yeah, of course.
So what is the problem on the labor market today?
The biggest problem nowadays on the labor market is the war of talent. There are several reasons for that. The most important is the demographic change. So we are not enough people nowadays if you compare it with the baby boomer generation, and the people are not studying in the technique field. And another point is the global competition. So nowadays, if you graduated by high school, you can go everywhere. You can go to Spain, Great Britain, wherever you want. So it's a harder competition.
People can move freely.
Yeah. And another point is the changing values. So my generation, they may be more focused on time with family, friends, and themselves. They are focused on a work-life balance, and they want flexible working hours. That's what the younger generation is looking for.
Thanks. Rob, boomer generation. So is this dilemma also existing in the electronics manufacturing field?
Oh, very much so. I think the core of our operations people in Europe are of a similar age to us, and they're simply not being replaced fast enough by young people. I think the pandemic has been a factor here as well, because people who wouldn't necessarily thought of working from home have had to find jobs where they do work from home, and so they're reluctant to come back to the factory. And I also read the other day that PhD laboratories are actually having trouble finding PhD graduates to do research work because there's just not enough of them. So that, I think, will encourage people to learn more, to move up, and so that will create a vacuum down at the shop floor levels.
Dieter, I thought the chip shortage is the biggest problem on the electronics market.
Laszlo, there is no chip shortage in this market. There used to be a semiconductor shortage. And that is at this time already nearly history. The main problem today, again, is labor. We have just finished at Informa a market survey of the EMS industry after they have published some results for the first half of this year, and we asked what their expectation for the full year 2022 is. And 90% of these people responded that they are expecting a major increase in their revenues. And now you might think that the increase is due to price increases of the materials, but no, the majority is quantity increases. And I get the feedback that some of these companies could have even made higher revenue increases if they had sufficient labor on the shop floor.
So what do you think are the drivers for this?
Well, you mentioned it before that we see all of a sudden a lot of labor missing after the pandemic. And if you look today at the unemployment rates, we are back to levels before the pandemic. And in countries like Germany, Poland, and the Czech Republic, we are below 3% in unemployment. And that is, by definition, full employment. And many other countries in Europe have an unemployment rate below 4%, which is nearly full employment. And people are not interested, maybe as well due to their own view of life-work balance, to work in shifts and to work for the minimum pay.
So what could be a solution for this problem?
To me, and probably to many other experts in the industry, automation is the key to be able to, with the existent labor force, to just do higher revenues. That could be a solution.
Rob, so automation is a solution. Which jobs are affected in a factory if it comes to automation because of this?
Well, really, it's right across the board. So every level of the manufacturing process needs higher levels of automation to make it more resilient to labor shortages as a long-term problem or even a short-term lockdown because of something like the pandemic. So it's one of the biggest places we're seeing automation coming in is in material logistics, so getting the material from the warehouse to the line, but also handling that material at the line, and of course automating the connections between equipment.
Okay, and then technically, how can a solution like this look like?
Well, myself and my colleague, Johannes Lettenbauer, we spent some time in the COC recording a video where we'd like to demonstrate how robots can take on some of the work that an operator could do and do it better, but also how we can coordinate an operator to make sure that they're using their time as efficiently as possible.
Here we are in the COC, and our line is running down the current product. As the last board leaves the loader, this is the trigger for the next PCB magazine to be delivered with the boards for the next product. Johannes, you've lifted these magazines. They're pretty heavy, aren't they?
Yes, Rob, that's right. So a fully loaded magazine can be really hard to lift.
You know, I once almost dropped one of these and a couple of boards slipped out and hit the floor, damaging the corners. Luckily, they were only blank test boards, but real boards would have made that an expensive mistake.
Hence, direct transport of these heavy magazines to the line reduces the physical workload for operators at the shop floor and gives them more time for other tasks.
Okay, the line is still running the first product out, but this is a good time to deliver the tables for the next setup. They're already prepared in the setup area according to our work software. Examples we already gave you in a previous show.
So Rob, I was not thinking very hard when I put the tables in place, but it looks like the load pads are compensating for the positioning of the tables.
Yes, that's right. When the load pad is approaching the COT, it uses its front sensor to find the wheels of the table so it can accurately center itself underneath it.
While all this is going on, the last board has passed through the line and reached the AOI, so we know the batch is complete.
And this means the operator will get a notification. And over here, while you're preparing a program on another line, you get a notification to go back across and change the printer over. And of course, you could do that preparation offline as well with Works.
While the load pads are finishing the table delivery, the operator can now exchange the stencil.
Johannes, couldn't a printer do the stencil exchange already, automatically?
Well, yes, it could, and there are various options out there, but none of them can do it as fast as operators can do it. And of course, you also have to deal with the old dirty stencil that comes out. So furthermore, there's usually other aspects of the changeover that are much harder to fully automate.
Okay. Once the operator is finished at the printer, which will complete the changeover automatically, the next notification from Works on our smart device is of course to go over to the placement machines and exchange the tables.
And now the line is set up, the next boards flow through, and the IPC Hermes standard protocol makes it possible for machines to change over automatically. So no more operator support is required at the line while the first products are running through.
As we've seen, moving tables around does take time. There's an argument that robots here are slower than people, and perhaps that's true, but the difference now is quite small. And of course, what you're doing here is for sure physical effort.
That's right, and although we talked about how robots can compensate for the positioning of the tables, nothing can quite beat robots doing the whole thing by themselves. And some practice is required for operators to be able to insert these tables cleanly in one go, while a robot would use the Aruka marker on the floor to position and align itself perfectly in front of the placement machine.
When the table has been loaded, that's when Works gets notified that this task is complete, and the operator can head off to prepare the next setup.
And as we have also mentioned in the previous show, the material tower can provide cassettes and reels automatically using an HEV. In this example, it's working with Works to deliver reels for the next setup directly to the operator. We can also calculate demand at the line and deliver reels for replenishment as well.
Meanwhile, at the line, it looks like there's a problem. Our operator receives a notification that the solder paste inspection machine requires assistance. That operator can use the command center cockpit and connect to the machine via remote smart factory. For example, they could decide to mark this board as bad and allow production to continue, all without anyone needing to touch the machine at all.
By doing so, tasks can automatically be distributed into remote and local assists, and either operators at the shop floor or in the office are being notified about tasks and can then either resolve them directly at the machine or remotely. This furthermore reduces operator effort and time, as tasks can now be handled without actively having to be in front of the machine.
Automation use cases presented by Rob and Johannes, doing more with the same amount of employees. So Rob, one thing which interests me in this example also, how is the relationship between automation and the operator? Is it complementary or is it a substitution?
Well, that depends on the task, really, Laszlo. There's, as we've discussed, and as you've seen in the video, there are some tasks where it's better to substitute the robot, such as carrying that heavy magazine of valuable PCBs. It's a lot safer. But of course, collaboration and working together is also a great way to balance the work that needs to be done, where the accuracy of a robot can be an advantage, use that. Where the open-minded approach to solving a problem is required and better used, then an operator can do that instead.
I see. What other solution is there out there to solve the struggle with workforce?
Well, we've looked at operations on the line in the video, but of course another aspect is maintenance, the technical aspects, as Anita mentioned. And the way to reduce the labour load on that is to use intelligent software like our equipment centre to track the usage of the machine parts such as heads, nozzles and feeders, and make sure that the maintenance is scheduled at a time when you have a technician available. Where you traditionally might have had a technician on every shift, and maybe they spend a fair amount of that time waiting for a problem to happen. You can focus it on the day shift and say, here's the block of work you need to do. And we have tools like the head care station or the nozzle cleaning station that can make sure that technician can complete that process as efficiently as possible.
I see. Dieter, have you seen some solutions out there in the market solving that problem?
Oh yes. In actual fact, I am visiting a lot of EMS companies in Europe, and there's always one thing that wonders me a lot. Some companies have the AOI at the end of the line, in-line, and others have the AOI offline. And in most cases where it's offline, there is a pile of stacks standing in front of the AOI, waiting to pass through the AOI. And this requires an additional operator. And I always ask people, why are you doing that? And the answer is, well, we have too many pseudo defects. And my question then is, why don't you solve the pseudo defects and make sure that you can save the extra labor at the AOI and just have an operator who checks the real defects rather than having to, first of all, select between pseudo defects and real defects. So there is a lot of possibilities to optimize, and maybe it's just that these people need some extra help to get that fixed, but definitely it would be an advantage to these people.
Yeah, to improve the process. Yeah.
Yes.
Anita, I have a question. So, ASMPT is an automation and digitalization company. Does it offer only jobs for people with academic degree?
No, we are looking for people with academic degree, but we also looking for people with non-academic background. Soft skills are very important here, so it's important that you're motivated and willing to learn. And we have jobs for working students, software developer, as well as logistics stuff. Though there's always work to do.
And what is ASMPT offering to those young people?
Isn't it cool to be in a company which is enabling the digital world? You can be an active part in design and develop the digital world. And moreover, we are offering specific trainings and continue education with regards to automation. Moreover, we have a young professional network which consists of working students, interns and other young professionals. We are having monthly events which are on the one side workshops and on the other side leisure program. I think that's a great deal.
And it's a good vibe.
Yeah, and if I rose interest, you are welcome to apply to ASM. You can find the link in the info box.
Okay, one last question. As this post of Superheldin GmbH shows that women and men should equally be decided for every opportunity in the world, for every job. So how is the situation at ASMPT with women?
ASMPT, we are in a technical industry, so the majority is male, but I'm still here as a woman and I'm happy to be here. So I encourage every woman to apply here.
Dieter, what is your experience with women in the electronics manufacturing field?
Well, first of all, a lot of people ask us all the time where we generate our data from. And we do primary analysis. We don't make assumptions. We don't make estimations. We don't make Pareto analysis. But instead, we go into the company registers of the European countries. And I myself read about 800 to 1,000 annual reports every year in order to extract the information I need. And not all these annual reports make a distinction between female and male employees, but a lot of the annual reports do. And in those cases, we are normally talking between 50 and 60% of the employees being female. And whereas in the past it has been more on the operational side, today we see as well more and more women in management function, and I think that is a good movement as well for the industry. Yeah. To have a more balanced workforce, and I think the electronics industry is leading the way over here.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all your expertise. We have some final information for you. If you want us to see on any event live, so ASMPT live, then you will see all the events now shown in the ticker down there. Also, Dieter, where can we experience you on which event?
Well, this year, for the first 2 weeks of November, we will be touring first a week Sweden, and afterwards we will be touring France, Belgium and the Netherlands, hopefully visiting a lot of very interesting people, seeing a lot of interesting equipment, which in the past I always experienced 70% of the equipment is ASMPT equipment. You will see us as well at Electronica. We are exhibiting at Hall A1 in booth 555, and you will meet, despite my two colleagues, Eric Miskel and myself, and we would love to welcome you over there.
Yeah, so Informa on tour. Second, if you do not forget to book a free remote demonstration, so you just need to contact your account manager. Also, do not forget to download the Open Automation white papers. So last but not least, thanks you all for being here. Also, thanks you for joining us. I wish you a very nice day and stay open.